2020, a year no one wants to talk about. Whether it would be wildfires in Australia, natural disasters, killer bees, amount of celebrity deaths, the white supremacy in the police force, a stressful US presidential election, but most of all, a deadly virus that outbroke the entire world that caused massive lockdowns and restrictions all around the world. Unfortunately, killed billions of lives, including here in the United States of America. This would have a massive effect for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, as this at first glance would be a year that would truly be canceled since 1944, and the first time discussing about canceling this parade since 2001. So the result came in this. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced in the beginning of September that the parade will go on, but not on the 2.5-mile route, instead being a virtual event through Hearld Square that also means no spectators around that area either. So Macy's and their parade studio had to be safe and make sure everything can work for this event. The studio especially was big for two things, as this would be the final year that Susan Tuchero would be held as the executive producer, but the first year to have Kathleen Wright as their official head designer, making her the first woman to lead that position and still is today. The floats would be normal, but with only adults or no people minus the performers, no marching bands except for some bands from other New York City parades. The Broadway musicals were pre-recorded at theater district homes, and the giant balloons would only be controlled by 4 strong utility vehicles. However, with high cases going up before Thanksgiving, they had to do a lot more pre-recording than usual, mainly the bands, performance groups, floats, and performers earlier in the week. And for the recurring balloons, they only used footages from the previous parades. With the exceptions of the 2 new ones, the Red Titan of Ryan's World and the Boss Baby, and Yao Yao Kusama's Love Flies Up to the Sky, getting a second chance in the parade after being punctured overnight the previous year. So Macy's and NBC had gotten everything set, including a little something for Al Rooker.
Big problems, and oh, he's back. I thought, spread out, you butter. Get out of here. Yeah. Anyway, so he's back. I can't shake him. He's spreading his joy everywhere. Get out of here. Back to you guys.
Even Butter's back for fun, and it's now time to go safely into 23 songs. This is my ranking of the songs from the 94th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Starting up at the bottom at number 23 is Meet Me at the Circus by the Big Apple Circus. Yep, you never thought that was going to be a singing act for this group, although the tricks are great, but balancing the singing and the host talking at the same time during this, not a good mix by all means. Our first explicit song of the decade comes up at number 22 with Dreamcatcher by Keke Palmer. On her second parade, Keke Palmer messed it up. Clean version of the lyric for me, by the way, of her song Dreamcatcher being track number 2 of her 2-part EP, Vulgar Tendencies, specifically part 1. I think the F-bomb dropped at the beginning threw me off since it wasn't labeled E on iTunes, going on a different tone, comparing to Top of the World back in 2009. Yeah, she's older, it's just a forgettable song. Time for our first Latin song of the decade at number 21 is Tan Enamorados by CNCO. This Latin group is getting ready for their third album, Deja Vu, by previewing us with track number 1, their cover of Ricardo Montalvo's Tan Enamorados. It is forgettable as well, but unlike Dreamcatcher, at least it is a faster song. Even though I've not listened to the original version of the song, it does make me think of another song I've heard on the radio. Maybe if it was an English song, and the parade also did have an audio difference, but since that came first before the album, I can take a pass on it. It was just almost complete, I guess, but the announcer came in to talk about the National Dog Show. At number 20 is We Are a Family from Blues Clues and You by Ally Brooke. On her third parade, the former Fifth Harmony star takes the realms of Blues Clues by performing an original song from the show called We Are a Family, which kind of makes sense since Ally did appear in one episode of the show called Blues Stock. So she doesn't perform I'm So Happy You Are Here that she does in that episode, but does this one, which is not that memorable. I think Josh or somebody else from the show wasn't part of this year's parade is why it threw me off a bit. That, and you can't get this song digitally, and remember, YouTube doesn't count. Also returning for her second parade at number 19 is Guess I'm a Liar by Sofia Carson, which is one of her 3 singles that she released that year. Now this is a song I've heard on the radio, but not often in today's standards. Very quick song, but I gotta ask, what's with the tech crew's problem here? Cause I could barely hear her. I don't know if she sang it live or the music was way too high. You tell me. Having the Broadway performances in another area in New York City is one thing, but what about another musical all the way in London? Is another at number 18, Who Likes Christmas by the cast of NBC's Dr. Seuss's The Grinch Musical Live. In continuation of NBC's holiday live events of adapting a staged musical to a one-night-only performance on television, we get Dr. Seuss's The Grinch Musical, formerly known as Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, with Matthew Morrison as the titular character in green himself. However, he does not perform. He greets from the staging area in London as the citizens of Whoville performs a preview of their opening number, Who Likes Christmas, which is basically the footage of the event itself with some minor edits. The number is not that bad, as I have talked about this back in 2006 with the Broadway musical. This is fine in general. The fact is that it's the same footage that would be airing a few weeks later is bizarre and poorly edited as well. Which is why many people consider this to be one of the weakest NBC live musicals ever. This even explains why there is no cast recording album. It could be the pandemic and why that album didn't happen, but I'm just saying. Real Broadway begins this year with one of the 2 returning musicals at number 17 is Someone Gets Hurt by the cast of Broadway's Mean Girls. After its performance in 2018 with the number Fearless with the original cast, now the current replacement cast at the time do another number from Act 1 with Someone Gets Hurt. Ironically, the center character of this number is Regina George, is played by Renee Rapp, who will later reprise her role as the character in the film adaptation of this musical which was released in January of this year. I do think in general it's a better number than Fearless because the orchestra and the main lyric make it more unique, especially on having a number with just one girl and the rest of them are guys, and it is rare to start with a performance with just the dialogue than just starting the singing part. It's kind of rare you see that. But since this is one of the replacement cast members instead of the original one, it is hard to compare to it when you hear the digital version of the original Broadway one by Taylor Loudman. Although I have not listened to the movie version of the song yet with Renee's rap recording. If this was a normal parade, this would be a pre-parade act like Gwen Stefani, Kelly Clarkson, and Celine Dion. At number 16, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Patti LaBelle. If you remember back in the 2007 broadcast, Patti LaBelle was promoting on her second album, Miss Patty's Christmas, as she was interviewed by Al Rooker. Well, she now gets to perform a song from that album, track number 2, her rendition of It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. The reason I said it would be a pre-parade act since she is not on a float and singing it on a stand. Definitely the weakest rendition of this song in the parade, but better than her version of Don't Save It All for Christmas. It's a bit slower, and I feel like there's a lot of gaps in the song, and the dancers in the parade just felt odd to me. So she should have been on a float, or should have performed this back in 2007 when her album came out with this rendition. Our first 2 songs in one here. At number 15 is My Girl and Get Ready by the cast of Broadway's Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations. For their second year in a row, this musical about the Temptations gives us 2 numbers instead of 3 last year, with probably their most famous song from the group, My Girl, and Get Ready. Wait, we just did that latter song last year, didn't we? Anyways, this performance was nothing special. I will give it credit for My Girl, but not for Get Ready. And also, why did they lower the tone for My Girl for the parade? Sure, it was most likely the replacement cast, still it should have been the right tone like the original and the Broadway album. I am so done with these jukebox musicals. I believe you are too. Beginning the song roster for this year of the pandemic at number 14 is Dancing in the Street by Jimmy Fallon and the Roots. This time, the late-night talk show host and his band opened this year's telecast, and the fourth and latest year that this song, Dancing in the Street, begins the roster. I am so sick and tired of this song now. 1997, 2013 with Motown the Musical, 2017, and now in 2020 with Jimmy Fallon and the Roots. Which is honestly one of their better performances, and without a doubt Jimmy was singing it live. Not sure about Tyreek though. I think 2017 is the best one out of all the renditions of the song I have covered in this series. If I hear it as another opening number in years down the road, I swear, don't be surprised it would be at the bottom of this ranking. Unless if it is really good. Counting down till Christmas at number 13 is 25th by Tori Kelly. Victoria Kelly had a similar route like another artist that we'll get into later from American Idol, where she appeared on season 9 of that series. Yep, that series that Ellen DeGeneres was a judge and Simon Cowell's final season. But she did not make it into the live rounds for the top 24. But her career went bigger instead of her experience on that show. Now on her fourth and first Christmas album, A Tori Kelly Christmas, which was later nominated for a Grammy for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album, performs one of her original songs, track number 2, 25th. The song itself is well done. Yeah, it's kind of like 5 More Days to Christmas and One More Sleep, as this one specifically is on December 25th. It's Tori's voice that really makes this song magical. Now, as much as I love her outfit in the parade, I think the song kind of underplayed a bit, specifically what's said of lyrics they chose for her performance, and also a late start at the beginning because there was that awkward silence for 5 seconds after Savannah Guthrie mentioned her name. At number 12 is the Schuyler Sisters by the cast of Broadway's Hamilton. Lin-Manuel Miranda's newest musical took on the early days of American history through the story of Alexander Hamilton. His musical Hamilton became a revolution in the stage industry, combining American history and hip-hop into a massive hit, becoming the second biggest Tony Award-winning musical ever behind the producers winning 11, including Best Musical, winning the Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album, and Miranda and the other creators of the show were inducted into the Kennedy Center Honors in 2018. 2020 was very noticeable for this musical because the day before the 4th of July, on July 3rd, Disney released a filmed version of the musical that was recorded back in 2016. It was planned to be out in theaters in 2021, but because of the pandemic and some of the actual Disney movies got delayed, they decided to immediately release the film this year in support of all of the Broadway shows after they had been closed for several months. Now in the present, where the theaters are still closed, in the spirit of the Macy's parade, the Broadway performers kept going on for this event, as the current replacement cast members of Hamilton go in with one of the more safer songs for television, the Skyler Sisters. Now, I watched that entire filmed version movie back in 2020. It took me a while to watch that until a month later after this year's parade specifically. And it is so good. I have the entire Hamilton soundtrack on my iTunes, and even my parents loved it. My mom even considers Lin-Manuel Miranda a genius. As much as this song with the original cast is great, not much on the current replacements, mainly the actresses who played Angelica and Peggy. Not saying they're bad, it's just compared to the original cast, it is very hard to beat them. But the Schuyler Sisters is one of my favorite numbers from this musical, and it could be because it got to perform in this parade. We then wrap up the song roster at number 11 with We Believe by Macy singing Christmas Tree. Wait, this song again? Yep, instead of a new holiday song, we get the song that was performed back in 2018 with We Believe. But of course, because of where we are, they couldn't get the Macy's employees around the country to be together in person, so they appear virtually in an animated world through the Macy's windows. I will give it that it does sound different to the 2018 performance, as this is another group of employees, and it is really a better job vocally. I think it's just the visual aspect for me didn't work. Maybe you could have each of the employees singing at each of the Macy stores they worked at across the country, just to show each of the current Macy stores from each state, and even some from the department store. It's just that 2020 was not the same holiday excitement as it used to be. Got another double song in the realms of Latin here, at number 10, with both Ay Dios Mío and Tusa by Karol G. From Colombia, Carol Navaro arranged her two single songs, Ay Dios Mío and Tusa, into one performance, which means Oh My God and Cobb in English. Both would be later added to her third album, KG 0516, as track numbers 13 and 15. I do move around to both of them, but mainly with Ay Dios Mío, that felt more catchy than the first time I listened to that song years ago. Tusa is fine. I think she should have just stick with one. And although she did bounce both songs in the parade, I don't know if she sang it live or not because of the echo, mainly on the first song. And since Tusa is a collab song with Nicki Minaj, there was no way a big star like her would perform in this parade, and Minaj was not something I liked in that latter song. The Singing Christmas Tree wraps up the songs. This group wraps up the celeb roster, if you're not counting the Radio City Rockettes, at number 9, My Favorite Things by Pentatonics. On their third parade with their 8th and 4th Christmas album, We Need a Little Christmas, led by Kristen, they do track number 3, their rendition of My Favorite Things. Better than Where Are You Christmas, much faster pace, and more fun to listen to, although I still prefer not also their rendition of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, but also for the song itself, I preferred Peter Sincati's rendition back in 2003, but it is better than the 98 Broadway musical revival of The Sound of Music. I think with Kristen being the center was a nice touch. As the only woman of the group, she really has the good looks and great voice to this, and I think the parade had the better pacing of the main one itself, because they didn't have her do the verse of the song again like in the actual song recording. The newer Broadway musical, if you're not counting the ongoing ones with like Hamilton, for this year's parade lands at number 8 with You Learn by the cast of Broadway's Jagged Little Pill. Based on Alanis Morissane's 1995 album of the same name, Jagged Little Pill took her music to the stage and even won the Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album, as the cast performs the final number of the musical, You Learn. I have listened to the original one by Alanis not too long ago, so going by this version, I think this is not also better, but doing it in a country style fits so well for her music, and even the company's singing parts were so great. But unlike any of the other ones, and although it was a pre-recorded before this event, I think this is one of the few musicals ever have the cast actually singing it live. Yeah, they have mics on the side, but their singing feels so real compared to the one on the album. If it is real, high props to the cast for them doing it live instead of lip-syncing. Only thing is, this is not a song I would go back to that often. Speaking of country, at number 7, Here Tonight by Brett Young, with his most notable song I think from his second album back in 2018, Ticket to LA, track number 2, Here Tonight. A massive catchy phrase, and one of the songs from this year I go back to, even though it's most likely about a girl, of course. And like Karol G, I don't know if Brett was singing live or not, cause his vocals are different, but I can't tell cause there's no echoing. Here is one of the most well-known songs from this year, at number 6, the big single hit, Bang by AJR. Brothers Adam, Jack, and Ryan Met have formed this indie pop band in 2005. 10 years later, they made their first album, now with their most popular song, Bang, that would be later added a year later on their 4th album, OK Orchestra. This was, no pun intended, a banger, especially that main verse. With a very fast-paced tone, the parade did sound different, so I'm not sure if they sang it live or not. Then, like a year or two later, I got tired of hearing this song over and over again on somebody's playlist. I still think about that when I hear this song. So if it wasn't for that, which was an IRL scenario, this would be higher. Not saying it's overrated, it's just annoying memory coming from my head when I hear the song, even though this is at number 6. If you can't tell from any of these performances that they're live or not, then showing as actual lip syncing, even though it was not noticed like many artists do in the parade, with number 5, Run by Lauren Elena. On her second parade, the former American Idol star previews us with a song from her upcoming third album, sitting pretty on top of the world as track number 6, Run. Now, this is not as good as Doing Fine back in 2017. It's more of the typical roadside country song you tend to hear often, and although I do prefer Here Tonight, what tops that over is that the song Here the Lord Did felt complete for her performance in the parade. Not the entire song, just the right set of lyrics for the parade's telecast. If you're not counting Jimmy Fallon and the Roots, this would be the first celeb to be in the parade's roster at number 4, Baby I'm Jealous by Bebe Rexha. On her second year from going country with Meant to Be, now hip-hop with her single Baby I'm Jealous, later added to her second album Better Mistakes as track number 8 a year later. And another explicit song that is not labeled on iTunes, not mainly from her, but the featured artist in this collab song, rapper Doja Cat, who, like Nicki Minaj, wasn't able to join with her. But why is this song so higher on the ranking, though? I wasn't big on it at first many years ago, because of her doing that hip-hop genre didn't work for me. Now, in recent years, I've been digging into it, and like Run, if you take Doja Cat's part out, it does feel like a complete version of a solo version from her, specifically in the parade, and I love the red on her again, from her outfit to her hair. If she appears in a future parade, Macy's parade specifically, what type of red she's going to be doing on her looks next time? I'm curious. More Christmas tunes here at number 3 on their third parade, This Is Christmas by the Goo Goo Dolls, as the now duo group performs one of their original songs from their 13th album, It's Christmas All Over Again, as track number 3. The album has received some mixed reviews by critics. Better than So Alive, but not as good as Come To Me, but it is very relaxing, just giving us the message that the best time of the year is here, despite of everything that's been going on throughout 2020. Now, like the other two, there is a vocal difference, but unlike 2017, I can't tell if the lead singer of the group, John Rzeznik, is singing live or not. That and the performance was not even done when we got to the Nutcracker balloon showing up during the broadcast. If you want a complete song, at number 2 is the classic Christmas hit, Marshmallow World by Darlene Love. On her second parade, she performs her classic song from the 1963 compilation album, A Christmas Gift for You, from Phil Spector, or Philly Records, as track number 6. Of course, she had to re-record this song because she was 22 when she recorded that many decades ago, and was 79, soon to be 80 at the time. And they did take out the instrumental break from the actual song, so it isn't, but it is rightfully complete. Definitely a holiday classic song to listen to, and now in her 80s, she has still got that spirit. Darlene Love's a legend, and so is the Queen of Country. Coming in on top at number 1 is Holly Jolly Christmas by Dolly Parton. On her third parade, she is celebrating the holidays with her 47th album called A Holly Dolly Christmas. And what better song to do it than track number 1 of the album, her rendition of Holly Jolly Christmas. Now, she was supposed to perform in the parade on New York City on the Cracker Barrel float, but because of the high cases going on over there in New York City, Macy's, NBC, and Cracker Barrel let her perform on a stage in a studio area in her hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, we all growed up with the Burl Ives version, but I do think this is the second best rendition of this song, and should be playing on radios during the holiday season, because you got to have a one holiday song from Dolly Parton in your roster, and this one would do it. This is also 100% a complete performance of the entire song, the entire length in general. And she even talked during the instrumental break, although it is different from the parade to the album because it is Thanksgiving themed and told the audience to go buy her album in the telecast. It's just with her not being the Big Apple is kind of a letdown, but everything around her, including her music crew, the backing vocals, all joining with her in the spirit of Thanksgiving, marks it the best song of the 2020 Macy's Parade. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. After going through the rest of that awful year and coming into another bad one, things would technically come back to normal with the Root, but still with some limitations in 2021.